Hey, what's going on? Welcome back to my channel. Today we've got something super exciting to talk about. And honestly, if you've been playing Among Us over the past few years, this is the kind of update that actually feels like a fresh game all over again. I'm talking about the brand new 17.0 update that just dropped. And wow, there's a lot packed in here. So we're going to sit back and break it all down together in the most chill way possible. Like, I'm just hanging out with you and explaining all the crazy new stuff that got added. By the end of this, you'll feel like you know exactly what's new, how to use it, and maybe even what kind of chaos to expect the next time you hop into a lobby with your friends or with a bunch of randoms online. Now, first things first, the 17.0 update brings us not one, but two completely brand new roles. And this is what really has players talking. We've got the detective role for crewmates and the Viper role for imposters. And just hearing those names alone, you can probably already imagine the direction these roles are going in. The detective feels like the ultimate truth seeker, while the Viper is all about making bodies vanish in the most horrifyingly sneaky way possible. So let's start with the detective, because honestly, this one completely changes how meetings can go down. The detective has two abilities, and they sound simple at first, but when you really think about how they work in the flow of a game, they're kind of genius. The first one is called Notes, which lets you basically keep track of what's going on. And I know that might sound like something you could just do in your head or by scribbling on a piece of paper, but here it's an actual mechanic. You can log the location of bodies, you can keep track of who you suspect, and even note down the type of imposter you think you're dealing with. So imagine you come across a suspicious situation. Maybe you see someone walking away from an area right before a body is reported. You can jot that down. Over time, you're building this little case file in-game, and it makes you feel more like you're playing a detective drama inside Among Us, rather than just guessing randomly in meetings. The second ability is even cooler in my opinion, and it's called Interrogate. With this, you actually get to question other crewmates a special way. Now, it's not like typing out paragraphs in chat, but the ability kind of forces people to add out their location or what they were doing, and it gives you a structured way to catch lies. The trick is you can only have one active case at a time, so you can't just spam interrogations on everyone. You've got to be smart about who you choose and when you use it. And here's where things get interesting. In advanced settings, you can actually change how many times the detective gets to use interrogate per match. That means hosts can tweak the balance so detectives aren't overpowered but still have enough chances to make an impact. Picture this. You're in a lobby, bodies are dropping left and right, and everyone's throwing accusations around. Suddenly, the detective steps in and says, "Hang on, I actually interrogated Red earlier, and their alibi doesn't line up with where the body was found." That changes the entire energy of the meeting, and it puts way more pressure on imposters to think through their lies. So yeah, the detective role is basically going to make meetings feel like courtroom dramas, and I cannot wait to see how people play this one. Now, if the detective sounds like the dream job for someone who loves to problem solve, the Viper role is basically the nightmare fuel. This one is an imposter role, and it comes with the acid ability. Just hearing that name should already make you nervous. When the Viper kills someone, they can use acid to literally dissolve the corpse. And it doesn't just disappear instantly, there are stages to it. At first, the body looks slightly dissolved, then it gets worse, and eventually it's nothing but a bone. By the end, the evidence is completely gone, as if the person never existed. That's terrifying in terms of gameplay, because normally one of the most powerful tools for crewmates is finding a body and being able to link it to who was nearby. The Viper robs you of that chance entirely. What makes it even more wild is that there's a brand new kill animation that goes along with it. You'll see the acid doing its thing, and it adds this new dramatic flair that's honestly going to stick in people's heads. And just like with the detective, there are advanced role settings here too. The host can change how quickly bodies decay when the Viper uses acid. So maybe in one lobby, bodies dissolve almost instantly, making the Viper unbelievably dangerous, while in another, it might take longer, giving crewmates a small window to catch them in the act. Either way, this role is going to make people super paranoid, because now if a body never gets reported, you can't just assume, oh, someone hasn't found it yet. It might actually be gone forever. So imagine this scenario. You're the detective. You've got your notes ready, you've interrogated a couple of crewmates, and you're starting to piece things together. Suddenly, meetings roll around and there's hardly any evidence because the Viper has been out there dissolving corpses. It becomes a straight battle of wits, detective trying to build a case versus Viper erasing every single trace. And when you think about that clash, you realize how perfectly these two roles were designed to balance each other out. It's like a chess match happening on top of the usual Among Us chaos. Outside of the big new roles, the update also brought some quality of life improvements. which are honestly the kind of changes that make the game smoother and more fun in the long run. One of the biggest ones is how the how to play section works now. Before, it could feel kind of messy and outdated, but now it's been redesigned to make all 9 roles easier to understand. That's huge because for new players, Among Us has gotten way more complicated than it used to be. Back in the day, you just had crewmates and imposters. Super simple. Now you've got scientists, engineers, shapeshifters, guardians, and now detectives and vipers. Having a clean guide makes it way less intimidating for people to jump in. Another cool little tweak is in the role selection menu. It's now scrollable, so you can move through roles from the older ones to the newer ones without the interface feeling cramped. Um, and in practice mode, which by the way is such an underrated feature of the game, you can now pick roles more easily. There's a blue folder if you want to test crewmate roles, and a red folder if you want to test imposter roles. It's such a small change, but it makes practicing way more organized. If you've ever wanted to learn how to use a role without ruining a live match for other people, this is the perfect way to do it. On top of that, they've fixed a bunch of little things that might not sound huge individually, but make the overall experience feel cleaner. For example, the task where you enter an ID code on maps like Mira HQ, the airship, or the fungal now requires the full code. It's a simple fix, but it keeps everything consistent. They also cleaned up how colors are displayed when your preferred crewmate color gets taken, so now you won't get weird mismatched visuals, and even things like hats sorting correctly or preventing people from identifying dead crewmates through the crewmates window. Those little details really polish the experience. Now, no update is perfect, and Innersloth was super clear that there are still some known issues they're working on. For example, the detective's notes don't always scale properly, so they can look weird on your screen. Sometimes they even appear behind other UI elements, which can make it tough to use in the middle of a match. There are also some sound effect issues, like audio cues not always playing when they should, and even memory leaks if you switch between certain tabs too much. For Viper, a really funny but frustrating glitch is that mobile players can sometimes get kicked out of a match if they report a body that was already dissolved. Imagine being mid-game, reporting something, and then suddenly you're out of the lobby. That would be maddening. But even with those issues, the fact that they're being upfront about it and already working on patches makes me think this update is going to get smoother pretty quickly. And honestly, bugs are kind of part of the Among Us experience at this point. As long as it doesn't break the game completely, it just adds to the chaos. Now, what I really love about this update is how it completely reinvigorates the social side of Among Us. The detective role pushes people to communicate more, to share evidence, and to build logical arguments. On the flip side, the Viper forces imposters to think about timing, about whether they should remove evidence or leave a body for chaos. It's not just about running around killing or doing tasks anymore. It's about strategy layered on top of strategy. And because these roles are so specific, it's going to create some hilarious moments. Like imagine being interrogated by a detective and panicking because you can't come up with a good lie fast enough. Or being a Viper and getting caught mid-acid animation by someone walking in. Those are the kinds of stories that make people want to keep playing.